Well, it's sunset on May 31st, 2016, and this is the outdoor frag tank. It has a ton of corals in it. It has a couple thousand heads of xenia, and the reason we're out here tonight checking it out is because we just got this little baby Goldflake angel, and he's got a little piece of junk on his head, so we gave him a freshwater dip a few minutes ago, which he didn't like very much at all. But as you'll notice, he has a misbar pattern on his spot on his dorsal. So we don't know what he's going to do when he grows up, but we're looking forward to it. I put him out here in the outdoor frag tank because he's very, very tiny and is not ready to be in the big tank. And so there's a ton of pods out here. The fish out here don't get any food, and they seem to do really well. Here is a Bali emperor otter angel that about 4 months ago was about 1.25 inches. He doesn't get any food at all. He just picks naturally off of what's growing in the frag tank. And he is a magnificent looking emperor otter angel. As you can see, there's some other fish in here. Our corals are doing really well. We'll come over the top and try not to scare anybody. So, massive quantity of xenia throughout. Sorry for the reflection, and maybe get the camera a little bit better. You can see some of the colors here. This side, the other side has a small little outdoor LED floodlight, kind you use for your plants. As you can see, it's still sunset outside, and on this side of the frag tank there's no blue light, so the colors you're seeing are Mother Nature with no enhancement whatsoever. So these are corals that we just overgrew the tank and we popped outside here. As you can see, I'm not really well organized in keeping them separated or away from each other or the dang xenia. Here's some more pieces. Here's part of our xenia population. Giant clam. Stag piece that overgrew the display tank that moved outside. This is a piece of the original Lang Sai cap that's finally starting to grow back. It started out as a really tiny piece. Here's a piece of Oregon tort that broke off from inside the tank that it's been sitting outside for maybe 6 weeks now. It's got some nice dark purple color. This thing's just insane. This is actually we're babysitting this coral. This is George's, and it just keeps growing and growing and growing out here. Come in from this angle. Here's my reflections are bad. There's a nice purple Monty that's growing out here in the sunlight. This one's kind of cool. This is a piece that is a rescue, and as you can see, the original coral is still ugly brown. Try to get a better angle on it, but everything that's growing on it is bright purple. So sometimes the corals just really don't have an explanation for what they're doing. There's a Veleta down here with great purple tips. There's a little piece of slender stag that is just, I mounted horizontally and it grew crazy. It's growing crazy there. This is actually the grafted Montipora cap that inside the tank has got great red and green striping. And if we look really closely, get rid of the reflection, if you look right down here, you can see that the grafted cap has actually fused with the red cap. And now, I don't know if we can get around at this angle, but down inside the red cap, there are green stripes starting to come out of it. So I just moved around to the other side of the tank. And of course, in here you can see the green coming out in the middle of a red cap. There's about 3 or 4 spots that this has started appearing in. And here's another angle on where the two are have fused together. Right there. And here's another view from the other side of the frag tank. And so there's our giant clam again. More of the xenia population. More of the corals that are just really haphazardly strewn about in here because I'm a lazy reefer. But they're growing like crazy. There's another piece of a nice purple rim cap. And again, on this side of the tank, if we look up, there's nothing but skylight. So no blue light, no actinic light, just Mother Nature's sunset coming in. This is actually the red monty cap with orange polyps. These are standard red monty caps. Here's a large piece of Cyphostrea that's growing colony, and a big turbinaria. I'm not sure what this is, but it's bright green and it grows like crazy. This is usually sitting underneath the frag racks. Here's a piece that's on top. You can see the color's not quite so brilliant with the piece that gets the direct sunlight. Here's a really nice bright green acropora that does really well outside here. This was a nub that broke off the other colony maybe 6 months ago, and the Cyphostrea is usually a really slow grower, but out here it grows pretty darn quickly. And here's an overall shot of the outdoor frag tank. It's plumb to my main system. It has the little blue night light on it just so that when the sun goes down I can actually come out and see my corals. It's only on for a few hours, so we're definitely not lighting the tank with a little, I think it's a 13 or 15 watt LED. It's just so when the lights are dark in the yard, I've got a little bit of day glow going on and I can come out and see my corals and check on how they're doing. But other than that, there's nothing but God above the tank. And let's see, now that we've walked around and touched the tank, all of our pretty little angels have gone off and taken a little nap and a rest. And then we'll show you, this is the other outdoor tank. And we have a giant clam that we're babysitting for someone here. A red carpeted enemy that we're babysitting. There's a bunch of rose bulbs and flame anemones that have been out here for a few years and have split and multiplied. We've got yellow xenia that we've been long-term babysitting for somebody whose name will not be mentioned, but has got to get a new tank in their new house. There's some damsels out here that got kicked out of the big tank. Then there's some also damsels that we put out here just so we have some color. This tank has a bunch of tangs in it that are very, very shy. They've been out here for years and years and years. There's a filefish. There's a breeding pair of bangais. There's a breeding pair of goldstripe maroons. There's a giant blenny, like a Watchman blenny, that I don't ever remember having put in here or even seen this thing before. It's like almost 7 or 8 inches long. What else do we have out here? Interestingly enough, I put in a pair of curculas about maybe 8 weeks ago, and I never saw them once they went in the tank. If we look down here, we'll get a glimpse of one of the giant maroons of the pair. Nope, pop back in. Gonna show its head? Maybe not. Alright, so that got a little boring. And of course, all that mess out in my yard is to support my main tank. And there it is, 400 gallons, lit with radions. It's pretty healthy. My fish are pretty happy. There's about probably 125 fish in this tank. The big important fish. There's our Regal Angel, which we've had for about 4.5 years. My wife's Achilles tang. There are 8 yellow tangs, a purple tang. There is a chevron tang that has been with me a long time, even though he's a mature, ugly chevron tang. But he's a really good fish and he's well behaved. There's a purple, there's a pair of giant blue hippos, there are a pair of Borbonius in here, there is a pair of Bellis that have not spawned yet, but we raised both of them from tiny little fish, and the male changed genders a few months back, and the whole process of changing genders took all of about 4 days. One day it was a bright, beautiful female, and then on a Sunday night it looked like the fish had been dipped in bleach. By Monday night it had a gold stripe down the side of it, and by about Friday it was a complete male, and even the shape of the tail had changed. We've got multiple Starkey damsels. I have a pair of Venustus angels. That's the smaller of the two. I have a pair of flameback angels that spawn pretty regularly in here. I have a multicolor angel. I have a pair of golden angels, but there's not enough videotape in the world to be able to actually catch sight of those. There are spawning percula clowns. There's a pair of spawning midnight clowns. We might be able to catch one of them right here. Watch closely. I believe this is the female midnight, which will pop out of that mass any second now. There it is, right in there. I know it's hard to tell because we're shooting with a cell phone under pretty blue light, but this is actually a small piece of Oregon tort back here, so that's actually bright blue. We come back over here. Now you got a little more color. That's our mother colony of Oregon tort. We grew that from almost nothing in about 2 years. There's a Jedi mind trick. Here's our grafted Monty, what I call Monty Mountain. There's an Australian cap. There's the grafted Monty. There's purple Monty, and there's red Monty. And kind of cool, I have about a dozen different ORA pseudochromis in this tank, and all the different pseudochromis, a bunch of the different pseudochromis, go into the Monty at night and sleep together. As you can see, there's one of the Sankey eyes right underneath right now. There's a Stegasi damsel popping out right there, and that piece there. My little yellow clown goby. I have a trio of the blue-eyed cardinals, which I think look like freshwater bleeding heart tetras. This is my wife's red cocoa worm and her orange and white cocoa worm. What else do we have over here? On this side, this is actually 2 Australian elegance corals that we've had for about 2.5 years, and they're beautiful. These are what I thought were really cool. I still think they're really cool. These are green mushrooms with orange striations. We've had those for a few months now. Come back over here to the middle of the tank. Here are some blastos that we've been collecting. And some more blastos. And this, depending on who you ask, this is either Worldwide Corals Kung Pao Monty or the Beach Bum Monty. And we've grown that piece out. I've got a picture back in November. This was about a 2-inch by 1-inch coral. It's gotten much bigger. And we come up the middle here. Red Dragon. This is a yellow microhammer colony that just grows like crazy in here. This was maybe 6 months ago, was just maybe 3 heads. And as you can see, it's growing like crazy while it's being overshadowed by one of my purple rim cap colonies. And you can see that here's some growth shots where you can see how the corals are growing and out-competing each other for space. And sometimes they lose. Here the Jedi mind trick has taken out a pretty good sized piece of tort, and just in the last couple of weeks this was a raspberry millie colony that apparently you can see it's kind of worked its way in there and taken that out too. This slender branched acro on the right, this is the fastest growing acro I've ever seen. 7 or 8 months ago that was literally a couple of 1-inch branches. This thing is growing like a weed. It's got a little bit of purple to it. It's growing very densely here. I'm going to pause and go and show you the mother colony of that. So not many people probably have a giant 1-foot colony of purple-tipped acro that's just been dropped in the back of their tank. But this piece, we're looking down the back end of the tank from the side. This is behind the rock island, and there's the elegance corals, there's Duncan's, there's one hammer colony, there's another hammer colony. Here's a Monty that's gotten big and overgrown and shattered everything in the back. But way over there, behind where you can't see from the front of the tank, is a giant acro colony, which that little piece I showed you on the front that grows like crazy was a piece that broke off of that, like I said, maybe 7 or 8 months ago, and has grown into that full-size thing. And we start over here. We're back in the middle of the tank now. We come across the big shelf. There's an assortment of different corals in here. This is the purple millie that Jake Adams brought back from one of his trips last year. And it's doing really well. It's purple and pink. There's a nice Montipora down here, stellata, that, God, is pretty, grows really well, but just constantly keeps breaking off and is always upside down somewhere in the tank. And we come through, zoom out a little bit. You can see there's a monster red Monty cap that's got about 2 feet. And here's some more of the mass coming across. I don't know what this is, but it is something I've grown out from a little piece. And if the colors don't show up well, it is actually yellow with purple axialites on it. And really pretty acropora. That's a red planet for you. Here's one of my crazy millies. Here is a collection of millies that I've grouped together, which if you had better white balance on a stupid cell phone, you'd realize is really cool. Here's that stag that I showed you outside that has purple tips on a soft blue branch, and it grows pretty well. Here's a piece of colony of Miyagi tort that in my tank is very washed out in the colors, but it's grown, and then it gets all the way to the top into this massive blue stag, and then it loses the battle and has to be pulled back. Here's a big tricolor Velita colony. Come back over here. I don't know why the camera goes so blue when it gets to this side. This is strawberry shortcake, which all the good colors of it, so that you know it's strawberry shortcake, are on the back side of it. And we'll drop down here. There's a big fancy jack-o'-lantern lepto. This is an Aussie encrusting Monty. Come back across. Here's a really hidden in the back here. Another Aussie encrusting Monty that's purple with a bright fluorescent yellow rim. There's one of the Venustus angels popping out to say hello. As you can see, I have numerous damsels. They are living in and amongst the corals. There's all kinds of different damsels in here. Springeri, Coupangs, Starkies, classic blue damsels, Fiji damsels with the orange tails. Of course, I'm too close to the tank now, so they're all hiding. Let's see. I'm going to pause it and then throw some food in. So I've wasted about 20 minutes of your life, if you've made it to this part in the video, talking about some of my fish and my corals. There is a live webcam on this tank. You can watch it whenever you want. It's pan, tilt, and zoom, so you can actually zoom in to the polyp level. It's a high-def camera. You can find that at o2manyfish.com. Nothing is for sale. So don't email me and say, hey, Dave, I want to buy this or I want to buy that, because I don't sell anything. I grow it. When it does really well, it moves outside, and then it finds a new home with no cash value. So I'll donate to schools, I donate to people with crashed aquariums, I donate to people that are starting, but you cannot bribe me with money. I'm one of those pretentious reef people. Anyways, hope you enjoyed this. If you have any questions, feel free to email me, and have a good night. Bye.